Welcome to another episode of Back and Forth with Becker and Orr. We're going to have lots of fun today. See all the topics at the bottom of the screen, including the lead-off topic. Inflation peaked. Now what? What's next? We'll get into that. You definitely want to stick around.
Yes, inflation, recession. Are they related? Do we have any sort of things that we want to talk about in that one? Besides that, we want to talk about the sporting side of things as well. World Cup's on, which you only get once every 4 years. And we're back to the World Juniors. Best thing to do after Christmas going forward. So if you want to find this video or any of the other ones we've done on Back and Forth or Financial 15, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Great content. You'll find lots of things that you need for your financial needs, as well as anything of interesting topics. You can like us on Facebook. And most importantly, please visit our website at beckerorr.com. We have events, we have blogs, we have videos. You'll enjoy the entire site. That's great to know. But today we're doing a back and forth, and we are starting off with inflation, Clint. You mentioned peaking. Are we done? Is things going to get better from here?
Well, it's pretty clear that inflation has peaked, both Canada and the U.S. I'll throw this on the screen, U.S. data. This comes from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. They put this on the website. That's where I got the chart from. They have two lines there. They really should use another color. They have a dark red and a not so dark red.
Yes.
The darker red is the headline CPI. The not so dark red is the one when they take out food and energy. Point is, they both kind of peaked and are starting to fall. So if we have seen an inflation peak, and I'll add to this, Kevin, some late breaking news. Look at this. This morning, U.S. CPI at 7.1%, which means that line we just showed to be even lower if you add the November number, the number that just came out this morning. So we've definitely seen kind of the pullback in CPI, both in Canada and the U.S. What does that mean for rates? What does that mean for the markets? What's your take?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think the fact that it's been coming down since June has been a positive sign. Every month has been lower, been lower. I think we'll continue to see that going forward. Now, I don't think that we're going to get back to 2 to 3%, which is the target rate overnight. I mean, that's going to take a while to come through. I mean, right now, you still have people spending. I mean, probably not as much. They're concerned based on the fact that you've seen big increases in prices when you come to food and when you come to energy and things along those lines. But we're starting to see a little bit of a turnaround. And, you know, if we start to see some of those events that really escalated this slow down, like we're starting to see in China come down, where they're opening up a little bit more. If you get somewhat of a difference between that Russia-Ukraine conflict, then we could see a faster move down going forward. And I think that will help with the inflation numbers. So this could be the start of, more of that bull market scenario. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it also relates to interest rates. We have the U.S. Federal Reserve tomorrow. They meet. Bank of Canada met last week. Bank of Canada met, essentially raised rates as expected, 50 basis points, and then in their statement said, hey, we might slow down from here on out, not just this hike after hike after hike. We could probably slow down the rate increases. Largely expect the U.S. to do the same tomorrow. So the fact that inflation's peaked, the now what part means that rates are going to slow down, meaning we're probably close to interest rate peak. Maybe not right now. You could see a few more little hikes, but this rampant rise that we've seen is likely over, probably getting close to rate peak, both of which are good news for markets, but both of which also mean the economy is likely going to start to slow down, and you could see an economic slowdown, economic recession, whatever word you want to use. We'll actually dive into that a little later, but I think that's where we're heading. Is inflation peaks, rates peak, positive for markets, but it could mean you're going to see a bit of economic damage because of what's happened.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that sort of goes to the basics that we're saying. And yeah, we'll get into that, as you mentioned, when we touch on recession going forward. But let's go with the World Cup. You are a soccer guy. You've been watching most of these matches when you can. We are now down to the semifinals. How have things played out so far? And lots of big surprises for you in any stretch?
Oh, there's been so many upsets when it comes to the World Cup. And to be clear, I am a massive soccer fan once every 4 years. So I think that just means I'm a World Cup fan. But regardless, I am on Team Messi. I really hope he wins. He's near the end of his career, phenomenal player. I would not on Team Ronaldo. I was kind of happy Portugal lost for that aspect. But we're down to the final four. Two big upsets, Croatia and Morocco, both in the semifinals. We'll see if they can make it through. I personally think you'll see a France-Argentina final. And by the time this airs, maybe we'll know the results, and it could be horribly wrong. But that's what I'm hoping for. France-Argentina, I think that'd be a phenomenal final, and I'd be hoping Argentina could pull off the win.
Well, I've got to admit, I think you're probably right in that vein. But again, nobody expected Croatia to beat Brazil. That was a real upset. Morocco going through. I mean, this is the furthest any African team has actually ever gone. It's been huge to see what they've done. And I mean, I think that's wonderful for the country as a whole. It's sort of like if Canada getting goals was great, but I mean, they've got to feel sorry for Brazil. And I think Argentina's in the same boat where you don't come home with gold, you might as well not come home. I mean, that's just the way that this tournament seems to work out.
Very high expectations. Very high expectations. We'll talk about World Juniors in a second, but Canada, it's like gold or nothing, essentially what it means for World Juniors. Brazil, Argentina, any of those big countries, same thing with the World Cup. Like Canada, we were happy we made it to the World Cup.
I know.
The goals, that was phenomenal. Not the case if you're one of those big countries, Brazil, Argentina, to name a couple.
At all.
It's kind of gold or nothing, and I'm hoping for Messi. That's my vote. But we'll move along here, talk about recession, swift shifting back into the financial matter. It very much related to inflation, very much related to interest rates, but we're in a weird part of the economy. And just in general, given what happened with the pandemic, there's some very hot parts of the economy and some parts that have really taken it on the chin. I'll start with that portion of it, the part that's been hit the hardest. And it's what's directly related to rates, which makes some sense, right? Interest rates have absolutely jumped at a rapid pace. They went from almost nothing to 5-6% in a matter of months. So anything related to housing, to mortgages, that direct connection to rates, they've been hit really hard. And we see that in the numbers already. So it's not about, is there going to be a recession for them? It's already happened. Talk to a real estate agent about selling a house today versus selling one 18 months ago. It's a world of difference. And that's directly related to interest rates going up. What's your take on it?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there are certain areas between what you've mentioned with the housing market, between the tech scenario and how everything overshot itself, and now we're opening the economy. But again, there are other areas where you're still getting somewhat of a thrive. We've been locked in for almost 3 years. Travel is still there. People are paying whatever the price is to go away because they haven't had that chance for a while. So they're willing to do that. So the travel and hospitality industries are actually picking up. They can't find enough people to work and do these things. Another area would probably be the oil sector. I mean, yes, oil has been a bad play for a while. It was actually in negative territory when the pandemic went on. But now, you're hovering around that $80 barrel mark. They're all making money. And again, they're not overspending. Their CapEx numbers are not what they used to be. It used to be you get the high price, throw as much money in the ground as you can. No, they're being a little more conservative, so they're making money as well. So yeah, it's not the entire economy that's dealing with this, but you are getting those pockets. And again, like we say, with the job and unemployment numbers, they're nowhere near what you normally get in a recession. So it could be a softer flow there. Some people are soft landing, some are a little more hard. But I do believe that just the way things have gone with rates and everything else, you probably are looking at recession early into 2023. But I do not believe that it's going to be sustainable and long by any stretch.
Yeah, and it's very hard to say. We're in an uncertain area. I mean, we just talked about some areas of the market that are really hot. You talked about travel, hospitality. Like, they can charge people whatever they want, and they have been, and people are still lining up out the door. Like, they just can't charge high enough price to offset the demand. There's just so much demand. And in the labor market, near record low unemployment, usually that's not associated with recession. Yet here we are. You have parts that are incredibly hot, and they talked about anything directly related to rates, which would be mortgages, the housing market, and then also the tech sector, specifically that profitless tech, right? Companies that are very disruptive. They got a phenomenal story, but they don't make any money, so they're highly levered. When rates go up, suddenly that story is not as powerful, and we've seen that. I mean, Carvana is one example. That stock absolutely skyrocketed and then proceeded to fall 99%. Like, that's not waiting for a crash. That's pretty close to a crash. So where do we go from here? Very tough to say with any kind of accuracy because we're in a weird spot, but because you kind of got that hot and the cold parts of the economy, I'm in agreement with you that you can't move rates that fast without things slowing down at a minimum, likely into recession territory. But a collapse seems unlikely because you still have some very hot pockets that are part of the overall economy. But we'll leave the economy talk for there, put a pin in it, and we'll move on to a holiday tradition here, Kevin, at least in Canada, and that's the World Juniors.
Yes, definitely. Whereas you are the once every 4-year soccer guru. For me, all I think about, December 25th comes, December 26th starts, my wife goes Boxing Day shopping, I glue myself in front of the World Juniors, and I'm there for the rest of the week. Canada is back again. They are the reigning gold champions. They are looking to do the same thing again, and they've had a lot of increase going on. Basically, you've got a lot of players from last year's team, and 5 or 6 for Canada is huge because you usually get 2 or 3. Plus, you're getting some of the NHL players back. Shane Wright's coming back. You're getting Gunther from Arizona. You're getting Brant Clark coming back from LA. So they've blown these guys out, and Canada's lineup right now looks really loaded, as though we've got a really great chance of repeating going forward. What do you think?
And the headline there, that's from TSN. That is about Wright coming back because he missed last year's. Because remember last year with the pandemic, it didn't happen until August. It was in the summer, the World Juniors. He was not able to participate, but he's not playing for the Seattle Kraken. They loaned him out, so he'll actually be in the World Juniors this year. And we talked about Brazil in the World Cup. That's Canada right now with the World Juniors. It's gold or nothing with that kind of lineup.
Yes.
Coming off of winning last year. High expectations to repeat as champs. And I think they can do it. They do have a fantastic lineup this year.
Yeah, and for the first time basically in 3 years, I mean, even though they played it in summer and August, the crowds weren't really there in Edmonton. I think you're going to get packed houses back in Canada. The reason we seem to get it every 2 years is because we're the hotbed for junior hockey, and why not? And it'll be a little different this year without Russia being in based on the IIHF restrictions and sanctions they placed on the team, which is a little unfortunate for the players that are there. But by the same token, I don't believe that we have a team that has to worry about anything. The Americans probably our biggest competition. And based on that, I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can do after Christmas. That leads us to our question of the day. Clint, what does one of our wonderful watchers want to know about today?
Energy. That's been the hot button topic, right? Energy stocks, oil, everything was ramping and running the first part of the year. And then we get to the fall and some of the energy stocks cooled off. Oil prices cooled off. So a common question, what should I do with my oil stocks, Kevin?
Well, yeah, that's a hard question to go with. I mean, is oil going back to 60 or is it going to 120? Again, a lot of this stuff will depend on, are they going to open the floodgates? What do they think with recessions going on? I believe that oil stocks probably, you know, if I'm not looking to sell all of them. If you've got a large profit, maybe taking some profit before the end of the year. If you've got losses to counteract is never a bad idea. It allows you to get that while you've got it. But I still believe that oil stocks going forward over the next year or two for sure probably still have a little more run room. I mean, they're making money at these numbers. If we head into a slowing in the economy, it is going to take a while before that demand comes back. And I don't think that they're going to be increasing too much in the way of supply to counter that and really look down. They're probably more on the cut side than they are on the increase side at this point in time. So there's probably more run room, I feel, with, you know, at least the oil stocks going forward. What's your view?
Yeah. I mean, it really depends why you bought them in the first place. Like any investment, you have to have a good reason to get in and then really make sure it meets your objectives. If this is more of a short-term play saying, hey, oil's running, I want to make some money, well, you probably want to sell. It's a short-term trade. It worked out. That's fantastic. Time to move on. Don't need to belabor the point. If it's not, and it's kind of part of a longer-term diversified portfolio, well, usually you have some larger cap companies that pay some dividends like you just talked about. There's a fundamental reason to continue to hold them, but then you just watch your weightings, right? Maybe instead of being 5-10%, you trim that back to more respectable weighting and take a bit of profit while you do it. But it always comes back to why did you own them in the first place? And that kind of influences whether or not now would be a good time to get out. But we'll leave it there. If you have a question, please get a hold of us. You can always visit chatwithclintonkevin.com, whether it's a financial question, really any question. I'd be happy to hear from you. That's part of our website. Fill in the form. It comes directly to us. We'd certainly love to hear with you. Chatwithclintonkevin.com. Any parting words for the folks, Kevin?
Go Canada for the World Juniors. We're cheering for Argentina. I guess that's the general consensus in the World Cup. Other than that, I think we're set and ready for a good weekend coming forward. That's about all I can say.
Take care.